Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today I did not expect to be recording. I was planning to just have a movies with Meghan post, but Whoopi Goldberg, Megyn Kelly, and Claudia Jordan decided to not let that happen. So I decided to come here to clarify what Meghan said, but also to just bring a little bit of common sense in the room. Let's get into it.
It was, for me, fascinating. I had studied acting in college at Northwestern University, and like a lot of the other women standing on stage with me, acting was what I was pursuing. So while Deal or No Deal wasn't about acting, I was still really grateful as an auditioning actress to have a job that could pay my bills. I had income, I was part of the union, I had health insurance. It was great. And yet, I had also studied international relations in college. And there were times when I was on set at Deal or No Deal and thinking back to my time working as an intern at the US Embassy in Argentina in Buenos Aires, and being in the motorcade with the Secretary of Treasury at the time and being valued specifically for my brain. Here, I was being valued for something quite the opposite. I mean, you have to imagine, just to paint the picture for you, that before the tapings of the show, all the girls, we would line up and there were different stations for having your lashes put on or your extensions put in or the padding in your bra. We were even given spray tan vouchers each week because there was a very cookie-cutter idea of precisely what we should look like. It was solely about beauty and not necessarily about brains. And when I look back at that time, I'll never forget this one detail. Because moments before we'd get on stage, there was a woman who ran the show and she would be there backstage, and I can still hear her. She couldn't properly pronounce my last name at the time, and I knew who she was talking to because she would go, "Markel, suck it in! Markel, suck it in!" I ended up quitting the show. Like I said, I was thankful for the job, but not for how it made me feel, which was not smart. And by the way, I was surrounded by smart women on that stage with me, but that wasn't the focus of why we were there. And I would end up leaving with this pit in my stomach, knowing that I was so much more than what was being objectified on the stage. I didn't like feeling forced to be all looks and little substance. And that's how it felt for me at the time, being reduced to this specific archetype.
Once again, thank you so much for clicking on my video. If you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on that notification bell. And if you're interested in a membership, feel free to hit that join button. I'm getting right to the meat and potatoes. What the hell is wrong with people? I listened to the Archetypes episode. If you have not seen my recap, feel free to check it out. We specifically talked about the Deal or No Deal comments. And for me, a wackadoo on the internet, to understand what Meghan was talking about, and for other people in the entertainment industry, not just people, but women in the entertainment industry, to intentionally jump through leaps, hurdles, to make some sort of obtuse observation about Meghan because this is their moment to do so, they are always looking for it, is beyond me. I'm going to start with the comments made by Megyn Kelly because she is the most dense person I'm going to talk about today, which is a little bit surprising considering Claudia Jordan is also on the docket. But Megyn Kelly said, quote, "This woman is a fraud and people get it. It's not something a new publicity team can solve, nor any fact checker. She also urged Meghan Markle to stop the nonsense and stop the obsessive image crafting. She went on to say, "We don't feel sorry for you." She advised Meghan to take a step back and be quiet for a while and do something meaningful that's not about you. Then maybe we'll feel inspired to do something other than mock you. Okay. I did a whole video. So let me go back. Meghan and Harry Archwell have done so much, not even just in a small amount of time, but they've just done so much, period, that I have actually had to isolate the types of charity work they do into videos in order to get a video that's under an hour. Because when I try and do the new and up and coming events that they have going on, the new and up and coming initiatives, the new appearances, the new, foundations that they're sponsoring or organizations that they're championing. If I try to do that in a 6-month period or in a 3-month period, these videos would be long as hell. And that's sans commentary. As someone who literally gets alerts anytime Meghan or Harry does anything charity minded or selfless, I can assure you they do a hell of a lot more than any other royal from the British royal family and any other celebrity that had a comment to say about Meghan. I'm not trying to take anything away from anyone that we're going to talk about today, but it is very disappointing when people ignore all of the context of the comment and intentionally be obtuse. We're going to suck and hoover all of the common sense out of the room and go full force ahead with the ignorance that is misogyny. We're going to go full force ahead with the ignorance that is racism. And we're going to champion objectification because it means insulting Meghan. Well, boo-hoo, the joke's on you because you are identifying yourself as a champion of objectification. If that doesn't stop you cold in your tracks and make you say, shit, maybe I'm making a wrong turn here, let me think about it, you have a lot more to worry about than Miss Meghan Markle. You have a lot more to worry about than anyone that you've discussed on any of your bullshit panels. And you know what? I want to move forward because I want to go ahead and talk about Claudia Jordan, who was a briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal. And Claudia Jordan has defended Meghan in the past. I want to go ahead and isolate her comments too. So what I'm going to do is give everybody's comments and then I'm going to give my opinion because all of them have the same response. The Real Housewives of Atlanta alum joined TMZ Live. Girl, I can already stop you right there. She joined TMZ Live on Wednesday, saying she had no clue the Duchess of Sussex had such negative feelings about being on the show and felt her comments were a little unfair for the rest of the models. Claudia says there were lots of briefcase models with brains, including Stacey Gardner, who passed the bar exam while she was on the show. But as Claudia says, it was no secret they signed up for a modeling gig, and clearly Meghan knew that. I'm going to move on to Whoopi's comments, and then I'm going to come back. Quote, these are Whoopi's comments on The View. Quote, on that show, you basically had a suitcase and they wanted to know, is this the deal you want or is this not the deal you want? The Sister Act actress 66 said to her co-host, I don't know that the people who are sitting there are thinking about you like that. They're thinking, I want the money. Quote, Vanna White is always in something interesting and beautiful, and she's been doing this. The objectification might be coming from you and how you felt about how these women were being portrayed, and that's what you have to change, because we're performers. When you're a performer, you take the gig. Before I address directly the bullshit in that statement, because you don't get to tell anyone else's story and you damn sure don't get to tell anyone else how to feel about their experience, even when you've had the same experience. You don't get to tell anyone else how to interpret their own first-person point of view. I could stop right there. There are a hell of a lot of victims out there who have come out and talked about and have said the things that have happened to them during the Me Too movement that other people have decided to say, well, actually, I met him and he didn't make me feel that way, so that means you're lying. Or actually, I saw that movie and it didn't offend me, so that means it's not offensive. Or actually, I heard those comments and they didn't make me feel uncomfortable, so that means the comments weren't inappropriate. You are using your own experience and your own career to silence someone else who, in my opinion, would never have the same opportunities as you and vice versa, because the two of you are in two totally different lanes. If Whoopi had come to this and said, I've been a briefcase girl and this was my experience, she would have been valid to say what her experience was. Claudia Jordan did do that. Claudia Jordan did say, I was a briefcase girl and this was my experience. And had she stopped there, I would have said, that's a great perspective. Thank you for adding that to the conversation. But I would venture to say, why are you using it to now contradict from someone else who is only expressing themselves on their platform? Meghan Kelly, she is always putting her foot in her mouth. One might say that's where it belongs, but from what I've observed, there is an intent behind the things that she decides to talk about, and there is an intent behind the insults she decides to put out there, or the silencing that she decides to participate in. Can you disagree? Absolutely. There have been plenty of things that Whoopi Goldberg herself has said. Did I get on my platform and say, Whoopi's an asshole, Whoopi's an idiot, Whoopi's not smart? No. Have I gotten on my platform and said, Claudia Jordan has rumors about her a mile long about the things that she did to get ahead in Hollywood? No, because I'm not going to participate in that misogyny. Why did everyone decide to jump in their misogyny bag when Meghan decided to talk about her experience? Key word here, her experience. Meghan said multiple times in the quote, I, my, me. She also said, the women that I worked with, the other women on that panel, were brilliant. She never once cut down anyone else. But according to Claudia Jordan, let's pull the quote. According to Claudia Jordan, she did. Claudia said there were lots of briefcase models with brains, including Stacey Gardner. She never said there weren't. If you took the time to listen and got out of your contradictory bag, and you wanted to be a contrarian, so let me cut down another woman. Claudia has a history of finding the prettiest woman in the room and targeting her. Hey, Portia.
Claudia Jordan. Do you know Claudia?
I know of Claudia, yeah. Why is she here in Atlanta? The thirst is real. The thirst is real.
So all I'm saying is Claudia doesn't have the best history when it comes to being around other powerful women. Now, I will say this. And I'm not trying to be rude, what I saw from Claudia on Real Housewives, I won't count against her because that is a show and she was playing a character. But I did notice how she went after the women that she deemed to be the most successful women, and she deemed to be the most beautiful women. And she, in my opinion, suffers from that age-old issue of women coming in and saying, I can't collaborate, I gotta compete. And she saw Meghan stating her first person point of view while still uplifting the other women on that panel. Meghan never said the other women on that panel weren't brilliant. She actually went out of her way to make sure people knew this is in no way, shape, or form a reflection of the other women. This is about the way they treated us, what they valued in us, and how that made me feel. Before I continue, I want to ask anyone who watches this video, seriously, I really want you, before you have an opinion about me, my blue sweater, any of the people we talked about, I don't care. I want you to ask yourself, have I ever had a job that made me feel 100% positive all the time? And if you have, I want you to leave it in the comments. Your job does not have a downside. Nothing about the job is negative. Absolutely every single thing you do regarding this role feels good, makes you feel empowered, makes you feel like pure perfection. If you have that job, leave it in the comments below. So for those of us in the real world who have worked jobs that we liked, that we loved, that we hated, we know some of the layers of our job can feel great, but then some parts of our job cannot feel so great. And some things about our job can make us say, I've had enough, I'm gonna move on. As a Black woman in corporate, I can tell you every single day, there is something I like, but also something I hate. And all too often, when I've tried to receive help, guidance, any type of aid, make any changes for improvement, use my voice, there have always been someone in the room to say, well, if you feel that way, but she doesn't feel that way, then maybe the problem is you. You're trying to make her feel like her perspective isn't valid and maybe she's the one with the problem. But then it's so interesting. All of the discourse on this, particularly with Whoopi Goldberg, she used Vanna White to prove that, yes, Vanna was objectified, but she was okay with it. So it's kind of like the same thing they do with victim shaming. If two people have the same experience from the same abuser, but one of them speaks out and the other one doesn't, then the assumption is made that the one that's speaking out is the one with the problem, not the abuse. How often have we heard that? Well, I worked with him and he didn't make me feel that way. Do we not remember Terry Crews? When Gabrielle Union made the comments that the project that they worked on, that she was made to feel a certain way, and then Terry Crews decided to shuck and jive in order to say, as a black man, well, I didn't have that experience. I never had that type of experience, and that organization is not racist. Well, I would venture to say that maybe the two of you just simply had two different experiences, and the things that she experienced made her feel this way. And if you couldn't offer something productive to the discourse, you always had the option to zip it. You also always had the option to reach out and say, hey, I didn't know you felt that way. What was it about the role that made you feel that way? I'm so sorry you had that experience. I didn't know. I'm so sorry to hear that. But instead, the choice was made to come out and discredit Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle, the Union, who is a wildly successful woman, who has no reason to lie, has a very full win column, who could literally just do and be whatever the hell she wants. She chose to use her voice and make it safer in entertainment for the women who followed her. But Terry Crews came and said, Whoopi, don't be Terry Crews. Claudia, don't be Terry Crews. Because Claudia, I fully believe that you were in your element. I'm pretty sure someone telling you to suck it in and stick it out made you feel good. It doesn't change that you were objectified. You were an object. You were there for your beauty. And Meghan specifically compared that experience to her job working in government, to her degree in international relations. She specifically compared her experience entering the entertainment industry to leaving government and working within government. Anyone coming from a very strict, buttoned up, and just a very rule-based industry going into something like entertainment where the rules are very different and very fluid, and until the Me Too movement, the rules really weren't even there, I can see how that would have been one hell of a culture shock. And as someone in entertainment, I find it wild that you don't see that too. You don't see how much better that things get when women get a chance to use their voice. And as for Megyn Kelly saying she doesn't do anything for anyone outside of herself, Megyn Kelly, you might want to sit this one out, boo. You rolling with the big dogs. Meghan the Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Check her resume before you decide to talk. Check her resume. I'm going to go back to the point. Everyone has had a job that they loved or that they liked, but every single job you do, unless you're a unicorn, has a downside. And how you choose to work either through the system to fix that downside or realize that, you know what, this is the nature of this job. This is the culture of this office. I cannot change this. It's best for me to protect my mental health and move on. Then that is what you do. That is your choice. Let me just share a little bit about my own experience. I have worked in offices. Now, mind you, I have reached some pretty great heights in my career, corporate wise. And I love that about my career. But at every single level, for every pro I had, I always had to deal with sexism and racism. And every single time I accepted a job offer, every single time I set up a new desk, opened up a new office, hired new team members, got a new boss, started a new initiative, sat at a round table, sat in a conference room, I knew that there was someone somewhere that was going to try and either cut me down in front of me or cut me down behind the scenes, because I am a Black woman. And I have seen it happen time and time again. And I knew that downside existed every time I took a job. And it was my choice to say, I'm going to be able to handle this. I can shake this off. I can process this. I'll just get a therapist. I'll work through the system to report these things. I'll work through the system to make it better. I'll hand down reprimands and I'll recommend remediation efforts. I knew what I was walking into. It didn't make it any less traumatizing. So if she walked into that gig having an idea of what it would be, and then getting there and being told to suck it in and stick it out, and that was the extent of her job, and she realized, you know what? I'm not comfortable with this. That's her prerogative. And you don't get to tell her to suck it up. It's very shut up and dribble. It's giving shut up and dribble. And I can tell you, every single time I've had a racist experience in the office place or a sexist experience in the office place, or both, from men and women, and I've gone to HR, I've had to think to myself, was it prominent enough to even validate a report? Will I get dismissed? Will this person decide that the status quo is more important than my experience? Will this person decide, well, this person's role is way more valuable than her role, so if he's trying to touch her, then maybe we should just move her, which is something that happened. Let me share a little bit, because no, Meghan didn't say she was sexually assaulted, but what she did say was she was objectified, and there are women who are jumping over themselves to invalidate her. Let me tell you how dangerous that is. When I had a job in Orlando, I will not name the name, I worked inside a very big corporate office. And a man spent a full week harassing me, making comments about me, following me up and down stairwells, jumping on the elevator with me and making lewd comments. And every time I tried to report it, they would say, well, there were no witnesses. We'll take your report and we'll talk to him. It all came to a head when we had a conference where everybody's boss was in the room. I want to clarify. And we were all sitting within 4 seats of each other. We were very close. And this man decided to put his arm around me. I asked him to move it. I was not comfortable. He moves it, and then he touches my thigh. What do they always say to do? Call it out in the moment, right? That was always the advice I got. Call it out in the moment. So I said, do not touch my thigh. He actually didn't say anything. His boss, a woman, we had the same boss, came to his defense. She said, Sharion, he's just trying to get you to move your chair so we can make room. I said, he can do that without touching my thigh. So I grabbed my things, I put them at the end of the table. I walk out and call my husband because I'm so heated that honestly, I could have throttled him. He groped my thigh, and another woman defended him. All of it was so much on me. I broke down crying. So I went back in. I called myself. I went back in. I said, I'm going to get my things. I'm going to ask my boss to move my seat. And then I'm going to report it to HR at the end of the day, because we were in the middle of a conference where I was presenting. I go back in. That same boss had moved my things from the end of the table to the seat right next to this man, after I told her what he did to me. I grabbed my things and said, did you move my stuff? And she goes, we were making room, Sharion. So I asked our boss, the director, and said, can I speak to you right now in the hallway? I told her what was going on. She immediately was like, I didn't realize I heard the commotion. I just was zoned out. I'm sorry. She had all the stuff. We go back in. Guess what she says? Sharion's having a little trouble seeing the board. We're going to move her chair. Not his chair, my chair. She made an excuse and blamed me. And she said, well, I didn't want to make a stir because it was such a full room and everyone is here today. So I said, okay, I'm gonna let you have it, but it still made me feel away when they could have easily just said, hey, you're not presenting today. Could you please just step out and we're gonna talk later, and had him go back to his office. They moved me. Guess what changed? Nothing. When I asked for a follow-up 2 weeks later, nothing. So I went to HR myself. HR scheduled a sit-down conversation between all of us for 1 week from that day. So now we're at 3 weeks, right? My company decides to send me off-site to a warehouse to collect some badges or whatever. I said, well, who will be at the warehouse? Because it is off-site. After what has already happened, I'm not comfortable. And I'm told, you'll be the only one there. Guess who walks in? And yes, I was alone with the exception of one person. The man who touched my thigh. The man who had been harassing me for a week. It was just me and him in an off-site facility with no security, no one else there to witness anything, and no cameras. I quit. When I pursued legal action, I was basically told, this is a big fight with a big company. If you've got the money, we'll go the distance, but this could cost you way more in the end than it's worth. When I tried to report it to the EEOC, unfortunately, there's a long wait list to reporting the EEOC. And there's not really a whole lot to use here. Trust me, I spent 2 weeks trying to figure out what my options were. But because I'd quit, I was pretty much screwed. This was 4 years ago now. I'm still in therapy. This is not the same thing that Meghan described. So I want to be very clear. But the reason I'm sharing this is because at every step of the way, there was a group of women that jumped in front of this abusive man, this manipulative man, this inappropriate man who was harassing me and objectifying me. And women were jumping to the forefront to tell me I was wrong. I was misinterpreting it. As a matter of fact, in one of the conversations I had with one of my direct managers, she said, oh, I just think he has a little crush on you. That is not my problem to suffer through. So I'm sharing that to say, when you hold on to these misogynistic beliefs, when you hold on to the thought that objectification just happens to pretty women, it's okay. You're supposed to be fine with being treated however, as long as you get an opportunity out of it, which is what everyone's upside seems to be when it comes to this conversation, is she got a lot of opportunities. Yes, she did, which she acknowledged. She said, I took this job knowing what it was. I needed a job. It paid my bills. It was great to have this type of financial freedom, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the way it made me feel. What's so wrong about her saying her experience? And my opinion is this: when you don't understand someone else's experience, even when you've had the same one, and you just don't understand their perspective on it, guess what you have the option to do? Ask questions, implore what's going on, what you missed, why don't we have the same opinion, or shut up. You do not have the right to invalidate someone's perspective. And on the flip side, I've had experiences where someone has worked in the same job as me and has walked away and been like, I fucking hate it here. And I'm like, really? I don't feel that way. Why do you hate it? And I've just simply listened. Because we're doing the same thing and you are having an experience that I do not share. And it's totally okay for us to disagree on that. It's okay to disagree. It's okay for women to have their own opinion. That's okay. What Meghan did not do was insult anyone on that panel or anyone in that organization. She acknowledged everything y'all like to throw in her face. She already acknowledged it. Had you listened to the podcast and not just read a headline, got your little notes for your agenda on your panel, had you listened, you would have heard that she covered all the ground that you thought you were about to cover. You were ready to stick it to the Duchess. And what you ended up doing was making yourself look like an ally for the wrong side. So why, Claudia, are you now deciding to use your platform, your pretty big platform, to cut down another woman? Just because you had the same experience does not mean her perspective is wrong. It simply means they're different. And before you comment on what somebody did or did not say, you need to actually listen, because she never once said that no one else on that panel was smart or brilliant. She actually, as a matter of fact, spoke very highly of them. Y'all look for any opportunity to get into the headlines and you make yourselves look stupid at every turn. And honestly, Whoopi It was shocking for her to say that that objectification is okay, because I can assure you that the same people who were probably gawking and objectifying Meghan don't find the same qualities in Whoopi. Not to say that anything is wrong with Whoopi at all, but I'm saying they are in two very different lanes. And it kind of came off as, well, you're pretty, what are you complaining about? It very much gave that energy. Like, well, if you're pretty, you're allowed to be treated that way. Oh, get over it. How often are girls told, well, he's mean because he likes you. He treats you like that because you're pretty. Meghan is beautiful. Yes. Claudia is beautiful. Whoopi is beautiful. All of them have something to offer aesthetically. That doesn't mean that the way they're treated is the same. And it definitely doesn't mean that even if they are treated the same, that she doesn't have the right to have a problem with it because other people didn't. And I want to repeat this. She spoke explicitly that her experience working previously in government and then switching over to this was essentially a culture shock. It was just a very different thing. She was valued for very different things. And all of you agreed with her on that. And then you shamed her for not liking it. Whoopi has a great opportunity here on The View. We've seen her skate by a few times when she probably should have been terminated. But in no way, shape, or form is it okay for Whoopi to tell Meghan that it's not her place to speak on her personal experience, when Whoopi herself has shown that working where she works on The View hasn't always been so peachy keen. She probably wouldn't have appreciated if anyone came out and said, well, Whoopi, you should love it. You're on The View. What a platform. Oh, get over it. She wouldn't have appreciated that. So why is Meghan any different? And y'all done got me out of bed. I plan to just spend the day relaxing because I've put out so many freaking videos back to back this week that I wanted to rest, but I had to put on my lashes, eyebrows, and gloss and come up here and talk to y'all. But I got some new necklaces and I was totally fine with showing them off, so I hope y'all like them. It's got an S on it. But if you haven't already, feel free to check out my Movies with Meghan video. Today we're looking at Harry and Meghan, a royal romance, Lifetime's movie. So feel free to check that out and don't forget to comment. Feel free to check out my celebrity scroll from yesterday where we'll be talking about Olivia Wilde, Jason Sudeikis, and Harry Styles. And today, please give me your thoughts on the comments from Meghan Kelly, Claudia Jordan, and Whoopi Goldberg, because I feel like it's a shame to look up and see everybody disagreeing with Meghan is a woman. About a platform meant to empower women. This just continues to affirm that Meghan is doing the right thing by having this freaking podcast. She is deprogramming so many people from their misogyny, and they don't like it. People will hold on to their oppressive systems all they can because it's worked for them. They found a way to work within an oppressive system, and now you're going to dismantle it? Well, now how am I going to get in the boys' club? Well, Whoopi, you're going to have to find another way. And so that's all I've got for you today. Good on Meghan. You are making waves with archetypes. Everybody needs to check their belief about what women deserve and how women deserve to be treated. And I watched that View panel, and to be honest, it was interesting. They veered very closely to being right about objectification on game shows and other forms of entertainment, and they immediately overcorrected to get back. Whoa, we're almost to a valid point here. We're almost making Meghan's point. Let's veer far left. They literally talked about how on game shows, the men are valued for their brains and their wit, and the women are showed as fucking props. And they zoomed to get out of there. Too close to right. We want to stay on the side of objectification. So that's all I've got for you today. Meghan, keep doing what you're doing, girl. You are killing it. Meghan Kelly, get the hell out of here. Keep that foot in your mouth. Claudia Jordan, girl, you need to start to listen before you speak. And if anyone should be holding up misogyny, I'm surprised that it's you. And Whoopi, girl, get real. Get freaking real. It's important to listen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a whole lot of hate on it, and this is my opinion, and I don't give a damn. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. And if you're interested in a membership, hit that join button, and I will see y'all I'll see you Monday at our live discussion, which we'll be talking about royal scandals. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.